Happy Hump Day, everybody, and welcome back to Brown Bag Bets. Powered by BETSPERTS, we are your daily dose of quick hit handicapping and sports betting picks. I'm Alex Christenson, and joining me, as always, Mr. Andy Molitor. It's Wednesday, so I know you weren't watching basketball last night. Did you spend some time with the kids, work on the model a little bit? What were you up to?
I watch Patriot games.
Ooh. How was
Kind
it?
of a Sean Bean, little underrated. It's one of those where like the wife isn't as good at the game. You know the game where you're like, oh, what was this guy in? Like, why does his face look familiar? I'm
Oh,
super good
yeah.
at that game.
I'm very
And
good at
it's
that game,
because we
too.
had just watched The Martian. And I'm like, he is the guy from The Martian who sends them Rich Purcell's maneuver. Rich Purcell obviously being from Atlanta. Atlanta didn't play last night, did they? We're just going full circle on
I have
the
no idea.
Hawks.
I don't think so. No, they did not.
They did not. No Hawks last night. Oh yeah, they took down Drew the other night. But yeah, basketball was a little rough last night. I checked in on it later. Apparently, I had this issue where teams decided to I don't know what the term is for it. Stop scoring completely and altogether for 5 minute chunks of the game. I had a 7.5 point dog was within two with 6 minutes to go. Didn't score again until the 30-second mark. Lost by 12. The other team didn't score that much, but that's a bad way to get a dog to cover. They were actually winning good chunks of that game, so I don't take those losses too hard. I feel like that's just bad variance. And then what was it? A 3.5 point favorite was up by 5, a little bit left. Ended up going to overtime. I don't think they scored in overtime. Maybe just 2 points. It was a pretty rough overtime for a favorite for me. So not the best day. I think I went 3-5. I did a little live betting that was up and down. I think I probably ended up about even on that. I think I had a big 2 or 3 to 1 on that overtime uh, team that lost. So good for me there. I'll have some more. I just fired off a bunch today on the BetSperts app. If you are in the YouTube chat, I'll say it early. I'll say it often. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe, all that. Before we get to all these picks, not as much today. Light day in hockey too. I thought about having some hockey on, but there's not that many games here either. No, obviously Thursday is kind of our crown jewel of the week where we get into a lot of shit. There'll be a lot of games tomorrow for the NBA. We'll have Thursday night football, a bunch of college basketball. Tomorrow should be killer. Today will be a little shorter, but we'll start with some more tennis.
Gotta.
Underdogs. I think so.
Well, we went 1-1 this morning, Andy, but one of those was our plus 260, plus 250 underdog. Took down Schweizang in 3 sets. It was nice to be on the right side of a 3-setter here. But
Oh,
as
God.
usual, when you get to this time of the week, there's less and less matches. They're all kind of happening right now. So, as has been a little bit of the week here, talking about something we've already talked about here before. There's only 3 or 4 lines open right now. You know, if you're looking for a little bit of action, you're kind of getting the itch right now. Maybe take Diachenko once the Van Uytvanck match starts. Wait till Van Uytvanck holds and then grab Diachenko live or something. But of the lines that we do have open, this was something I talked about yesterday. Cristina Buxa, the Spaniard here, has been very solid on hard courts, even a little bit better on indoor hard courts, which I think is something that people generally don't give credit to, Spanish players. They generally think of them as clay players, and they tend to be a little underrated on hards. Varga Treva, has had a solid season, played a lot more tennis this year, but overall has been generally pretty uninspiring. Solid, consistent, but in no way, shape, or form that really gets you excited. So I have this match, pretty close to like Buxa plus 130, plus 140. So happy to grab here 2-1. I think there's still some 2-1s out there. Anything plus 180 or better looks fine. Again, you might have this in your queue from yesterday. So we'll see if we can continue having the underdogs here hit for us in France.
In France, I can get down with that. I love a good underdog, especially this whole week. It's fun just firing on these big numbers and seeing if they can, get somewhere with it. I get somewhere, I mean, to the third set usually. Basketball, like I mentioned, meh, ho hum day. It was okay. Things went all right. I played a bunch today. I played a bunch of double up games. I don't love doing this, but when I show value, I'm just going to fire away. That's where I'm at right now. I'm still tightening things up. I might have to go bring back the old model and just see if I can fire up like a million dogs every time. That's, I mean, just that one doesn't test as well as it used to. But maybe I'll have to keep rejiggering my sides model. Totals again went fine. I think totals did good last night, 3-2. It was those sides. So what should I do is bet like 5 sides tonight. Chattanooga, the Mocs. This is kind of a good team. This is a team that's beat a bunch of shitty teams at least. This will be their toughest test, although they do have a win over VCU on the road, which is kind of a nice little win for a team from the Southern Conference. This is one of the better teams in the Southern Conference. They get on the glass, they shoot well, they run a little bit of a slower offense, which I don't mind in an underdog, especially when I'm also going to take this under 140.5. Chattanooga, probably a little bit of an underrated defense as well, and Belmont's defense is just fine. They're a top 50 team. So Chattanooga +6, and then Belmont under right around 140 right now. FAU stands
Under
for
or
Florida.
over?
What's that?
Under or over? You
Oh,
just
over.
said under.
Excuse me. Over. I'm gonna have to double check that. Did I bet that over? I'm almost sure of it. Why am I sitting here talking about defense then? I guess we'll restart the show. We'll edit this all out. Either way, Chattanooga. Yeah, I'm gonna look at this now. I'm pulling up the model.
That's
Chattanooga. No,
okay. Because you did. You
I
said under.
do
The
have
screen
this.
says over.
Yeah, the screen does say over. No, we're pulling things up right now.
So who was right? Andy just now, or Andy typing earlier?
All right, no, I have this at like 148. I have this prodigiously to the over. Guess now I'm sitting here talking about the defenses being decent, and I'm worried. Although Belmont does shoot the ball nicely, they're one of the best shooting teams outside of 3-point shooting. They shoot their bunnies nice. Hopefully, I have both good free throw shooting teams. That helps a lot, especially if we need to get late game situations, and the Mocs clean up the glass nicely. So, that is an over. Florida Atlantic. Sorry for the podcast listeners who couldn't see that and got that whole confusing thing. Florida Atlantic takes on VCU, the aforementioned VCU Rams. And this is another team I like as a dog. They are plus 10.5. I don't have them. This is kind of my MO, obviously. I don't have them really all that close to being a 10.5 point dog. I make this closer 7.5, 8. They are a very good shooting team, one of the best in the country at effective field goal percentage because they shoot the 3 ball nice. They shoot just a high percentage overall, despite having the only dig against them is a pretty rough strength of schedule so far. They haven't played anybody. Owls haven't played anybody, is what people are saying. But at the same time, I still can't get this number quite here, especially VCU's offense. Not great for a team of their stature in the Atlantic 10. The Zips of Akron off to Maction time. They're taking on Wright State. I have this closer to a pick. This is a +4. Akron. What's annoying when you're betting against a dog is when they go to the free throw line a shitload of times. Even though they're not that great at it, they get to the line a ton. That's going to be annoying. And yeah, it is annoying in late game situations, and I just don't have this quite this close to Wright State, whose defense kind of effing stinks. Wright State's only won 1 game against Division I competition this season against Purdue Fort Wayne. So Akron plus the 4 leaves me to a real stinky one in Omaha. This is Nebraska, Omaha, UNO, what do you want to say? And good point from Patrick McCann. VCU's best 2 players have been out since the start of the year. Should get them back in February. Pay attention to that. That's where it's good to have some networking with your college basketball. There's so many of these situations where transfers are becoming eligible, players are out. One of my games last night got canceled. Wasn't even a COVID cancellation. It was just they had the flu plus a bunch of injuries, and Little Rock's like, I don't think we can field a team tonight. They said we'll try to reschedule.
Sick with the flu.
So yeah, just a little flu bug going through there down in Little Rock. Nebraska Omaha is a real shitty team. They're a bottom 100 offense, bottom 20 defense. I just don't figure how we're going to get this many points against a UNLV team that I don't respect all that much. They're okay, they're about ranked where they should be. They don't shoot the 3 ball good. They don't get to the line very much. They don't clean up the boards. they don't turn the ball over a ton, which is good. You're not going to give this underdog a lot of extra possessions. But yeah, I double stack this one. I have Omaha plus the 20 and the under 140. I make this a lot closer with a lot fewer points. And yeah, Fairfield is someone from Vinny Cannoli. Look at this. We have a Twitch user getting into the old chat. That's always fun with the Twitch
With a
community.
definitely real name,
Joins
Vinny
in Vinny
Cannoli.
Cannoli. It's probably I don't speak Italian. I don't know what cannoli means. It's like dessert. Those are delicious, by the way. But Fairfield,
Ooh.
I don't know if my Fairfield number is
They have
broken
cannolis in Fairfield.
or what's going on with this. But Fairfield for me is a wagon. The Stags, I've bet them a couple times. I bet them against William and Mary, I think. They are beating teams by a lot. They're beating teams who are at this level of like, if you have 358 teams who are in the 300 and down range, they're kind of trucking a few of these teams. Holy Cross and William and Mary got in the way, and they have skid marks across their face right now. Farley Dickinson is another road game, but it is not that far from Connecticut to head down to New Jersey. It's again not a nasty road spot for them. I don't think Fairfield has played since it's been since the Sunday game against William and Mary. So I make this more than 9. This is like the only favorite I really like laying is Fairfield, but Fairfield -9. I think they win by 15 because they are a truck. They are the best team in Connecticut. I'll just say it right now.
Let's go
Better than
FU.
UConn. All right. The association, are they having games?
They are, and I will say, by
Everyone
the
but
way,
the Bulls.
all your bad overtime luck, we had great overtime luck. We had the Portland Trailblazers team total under yesterday, 109.5, 108.5, I think, depending on when you grabbed it. Going into overtime, the Blazers had 102 points, Andy. They only scored 5. 107. So it's, you had some bad luck. I soaked up some good luck. At least things balanced out karmically a little.
Yeah, that's fair.
Couple bets, and again, we'll talk about kind of everything that's going on in the next segment a little bit more, but pretty big slate today, just about 10 games or so. 3 looks I really like here, and just heavy favorites. Totals are starting to flatten out a little bit in that the actual totals are starting to get really close to the closing totals. So I've been seeing less edges there, which is, again, part of the reason I haven't had too many totals the last couple of days outside of the occasional team total. But some of these favorites here look pretty short to me tonight. We'll start with the San Antonio Spurs. They're hosting what's left of the Charlotte Hornets, missing a lot of their best players due to COVID. Again, playing with a very short roster. The Spurs healthy, playing solid basketball. Just from a matchup perspective, I think the Spurs guards here are going to have a great game. There's not anybody on the Hornets who's going to be able to slow them down at the rim. So it should be a nice game here for San Antonio. I have them 6, almost 7-point favorites. So 3.5 is fine, 4 is good. The Denver Nuggets -4.5 hosting the Minnesota Timberwolves. Timberwolves on the last game of their road trip have to go play on altitude against a Nuggets team that hasn't been put it together lately. I think they're starting to get comfortable with the guys that they have, starting to figure out kind of where everyone fits together. The injury report isn't too brutal for the Nuggets here. And, it looks like the Timberwolves will be without D'Angelo Russell. He's questionable, and I think leaning towards out. Either way, even if he's in, I have the Nuggets as pretty big favorites here. 7, almost 8 points as I start to tweak some things. So -4.5, -5 looks good. And then the Memphis Grizzlies actually got this at almost plus money a little bit earlier. So again, one of the benefits to following both of us on BETSPERTS, you get this stuff a little bit earlier. The Grizzlies, open to small underdogs. They're now small favorites. I'm actually starting to see, it looks like some Grizzlies -2, even -3. I don't know if I would play the -3, frankly. So hopefully you can find a stale 2 or things bounce back a little bit here. But the Grizzlies visiting the Portland Trailblazers, a Portland Trailblazers team that is just in absolute shambles. Damian Lillard is back, but I think, again, continues to get too much credit in the market for his value, given how bad of a season he's had and kind of all the other things that are lurking in the background. I mean, they're on a team with a new coach because he wanted to get traded. They just fired the GM, again, because he's thinking about maybe possibly leaving. So, the organization's bending over backwards for this guy and is really having a tough season. I'm going to continue to fade the Portland Trailblazers whenever I have. So take the Grizzlies here. I'm starting to see some 3 pops up. Hopefully you can get a 2. I have them as about 4 or 5-point favorites here tonight. So 3 good spots for us. Take some favorites tonight. And, because it's tough, Andy. It's tough with all these games, trying to figure out who's going to be in and who's going to be out. I mean, as an NBA handicapper, I guess I'm used to this, but it used to be different. It used to be injury stuff. It used to be rest spots, things you could sort of see coming and you sort of plan for. I mean, what did you want to talk about? I guess how's it going for you? I mean, is this similar to what you had last year in terms of the NFL and college basketball? I don't again know how rampant it was in college basketball last year, but I mean, what have you seen change and kind of how are you reacting to all this stuff?
In college basketball, it was just like, hey, the game's canceled. I mean, just constant cancellations. Like, I can't think of how many bets I made last year that just didn't happen. I was like, oh, I made 8 bets tonight. 2 of them are off already, and both of those teams are taking 2 week breaks. Like, it was more annoying than anything. I don't think I made any bets. Like in college football, we did make some informational bets. Like, hey, remember that Liberty game that never happened? The BYU Liberty, it ended up being like BYU Coastal or Coast. Those 3 teams, 2 of them were going to play, and then we found out the Liberty quarterback had it, and we bet it like got a great number, and then the game never even happened. That happened like a dozen times. The NFL wasn't too bad. It was kind of fun actually because we had Wednesday night games, Tuesday night games. Like it just kind of went with the flow. It wasn't awful because they just started moving the games. This year has been bad compared to last year as far as NFL stuff. Just not knowing, and I think it kind of comes down to like it's almost comparable to, hey, when you're betting tennis or betting props, like go read the fine print, know the rules. What at the book you're betting at, understand how they're going to grade this, understand what dead heat rules are. It's the same kind of thing. Understand the timing and the vaccination status rules because there's all these players that are like, oh my god, this guy's, people are just this guy's out. Well, a lot of these guys who are getting dinged for COVID on Monday, Tuesday are not out. Like if they are, if they are vaccinated, they can do the thing where they get the 2 positives in a 24-hour period after being asymptomatic, similar to what we saw with Rogers. Like there's chances that a lot of these guys play. It just kind of turns into the NBA at this point where you have to be crazily up to date on the news. And it's always been that way in the NFL with injuries, but it seems like you've had a little more time and obviously there aren't that as many injuries because there's still
There's more
injuries. It's not like
predictability to it. You had more
this is
notice.
yeah, these have not supplanted injuries. There's still all the injuries. And then there's this on top of it. It's just made the injury news twice as hard. So, yeah, and it's turned into a pain in the ass. I hate that it's going to be a big part of the conversation tonight, but it's become another wrinkle. And yeah, on the deep dive, we'll have to. I'm starting to put together a list of like all the COVID guys that might play and if it matters. And now we have coaches that have been missing here and there. The Browns are especially hit hard. Truthfully, I'm kind of hoping the NFL seems like they're going to take a hard line this year on this and
Mhm.
not move a game too far. But I'm kind of hoping we do the double Monday thing again, or a Tuesday night game for the Browns. Like, just move it. Give me one more primetime game. Fuck it. Let's help this one team out. But it seems counterproductive because they did take this hard line, saying like, if you don't, if these games, if you don't have a team to field, if you have too much COVID, you'll just forfeit the game. And that was like a measure taken to make sure that everyone got vaccinated and they followed protocols and stuff. It doesn't feel like the Browns are like out of line. And when maybe you find out they were all at some club and everybody got the COVID and we're wrong. But like if a team wasn't out of line and just had a bunch of close contacts with their families or friends or something happened, and then it spread around the locker room and you make them forfeit a game despite them all being vaccinated, just getting it at the wrong time of the week, that feels rough. And again, there's no right answers to these questions. It's
Yeah,
it's
it's
it's tough.
we keep seeing the uptick, and as I was starting to look at some stuff just in the general population, it seems like the uptick in sports kind of follows along with the general uptick. Again, we're both healthcare adjacent. Andy's wife has been a nurse forever. I've worked in the healthcare industry, but from a corporate perspective, more in the distribution channel. So we're kind of aware of some of this stuff, but we obviously don't know exactly what we're talking about. But I wonder if, again, it's kind of some of the new variants coming through, and they're triggering some positive tests because I haven't heard so much as about the negative reactions to it. I don't necessarily know about that, but like you said, overall, it's something you now kind of have to pay attention to. I think it does make sense. Start putting together lists, figure out what teams have had kind of COVID outbreaks. I'm going to try to even maybe start doing some mapping. I know one of our jokes last season was the Washington Super Spreaders because they were kind of the first team to have it, and all of a sudden everyone they played for kind of a week was picking it up. So if you want to get into it, but at the end of the day, it is a lot of guessing. It's trying to figure out who's going to be in, who's going to be out. What I've tried to do is focus on playing a little bit larger edges, try to look at teams and figure out, all right, they kind of already have had their COVID outbreak, so maybe they're okay going forward. This team kind of hasn't. It's tough. It's, you know, discretion is the better part of valor or something. I forget what the exact statement is, but it's never a bad idea to not place a bet. Not losing is always better than possibly having won.
Okay. Sounds good. That's where I'm at. Kind of like, just take it easy. If you're worried about, if you are legitimately worried that you might get screwed over by a COVID spot, just don't bet it. Like if you think there's a decent enough chance, like take that into your handicap. There's too much COVID variance in this game, and the possibility of, we've seen this in multiple. That, and I'll close with that. That's kind of the NFL thing. It's not always, but every time you've seen one of these, it's like, oh shit, is like 4 more players on this team going to come up positive now? And more often than not, that's been the case. So once you end up with one positive, like, I mean, there were some people that just ran to the window and got Raiders tickets, which God bless them if you did get a good numbers on the Raiders. Because right now the Browns are certainly struggling. The quarterback and their head coach now have it. So we'll see. And yeah, we'll dig into all that tonight on the deep dive. Again, appreciate all of you joining us, especially Vinny Canoli over there in the Twitch. I don't think you can give a thumbs up on Twitch. Maybe give us like
Whatever you can, a high
give us
five.
a
I don't know.
cool emoji on the
A
Twitch. I think
wiggle,
you can
a
do that sort of
twitch.
stuff, a sticker. But yeah, if you are in the YouTube chat, give us a thumbs up. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully all these picks win. Hopefully you have a great day and you remain betting positive, COVID negative for the rest of the week, guys. And we'll catch you tomorrow for some football talk, huh?